I'm going to bore you with my little speech in a few minutes, and then we're going to get on the march. Yay! Just so that you guys know what's going on from there, we go on the march, we come back, there is another musical performance, and then we're going to do the announcement of the raffle winners after Mr. Joseph Roberts speaks, the publisher of Common Ground. We've also got the fundraising tent, and there's buttons and everything if you still want that before you go. And there's a ton of signs. Take a sign. I don't care. Just come and take it. If you don't have a sign, you want a sign, come and take it.
But not these kinds.
But not those kind. The really artistic ones, don't take those. Yeah, give that to Mother Nature. Okay. And I apologize if I get emotional. I'm 6 months pregnant, and I get very emotional about this. So, by a show of hands, I want to know how many of you have children. Okay, so keep those hands up. How many of you have children in your life that are important to you, whether they may be nieces, nephews, cousins, kids, friends, or otherwise?
Everybody.
And how many of you have children that you're currently anticipating the arrival of? Everybody who had their hand up initially, just put your hand back up. I'm just trying to make a point. Okay, so there's a lot of you. There's more than half, I'd probably say 75% are putting your hands up, that you have some sort of child in your life, whether you're related or not, that you care about. Last October, I told you my why for being here. I think that's really important to make it a personal thing, not just to come here to hold a sign, to actually be here for a reason. And I encouraged you guys to look at all your own reasons. My why in October was for every Agent Orange survivor out there that is maimed, born deformed, or suffers from one or many of some 800 illnesses that are beneath the surface of the skin. Many of those suffering today inherited these defects and diseases from their parents' exposure to Agent Orange. Today, my why is for every single person who raised their hand that has a child here that they care dearly about. For myself specifically, my why is my unborn son, Clifford Cameron Polzer. At 30 years old, I have been eating genetically modified foods for nearing half of my life. However, I've been ingesting glyphosate and other harmful agrochemicals for far longer. GMOs are not the only problem that face us today. We here in North America have essentially been test subjects for these so-called foods and chemicals without any word of warning. We are not told which foods are genetically modified. There's no labeling. We are not told which foods are sprayed with these chemicals. You only know which ones aren't sprayed because farmers who grow those foods have to pay for that certification. Chemicals which require hazmat suits to apply to crops. Can't really be good if you gotta wear a hazmat suit to use it. Automatically it makes it safe by putting it in the grocery store, right? Only when we the people start asking questions are we assured by big industry, not just Monsanto. Yeah, it's March Against Monsanto, but it's also Syngenta, Dow Chemical, and another long list of names. We are only then assured by them that their patented seeds and their chemicals are safe, despite many numerous independent studies that say they are harmful. Many respected scientists who speak out against these abominations are discredited and slammed in the media. Which leads to the question, if these products are genuinely safe, why are biotech companies so terrified of these scientists and their independent reports? You just have to look at the work of Dr. Seralini, discredited by a Monsanto scientist, yet supported by most of his peers. Or even close to home here in Canada, Dr. Shiv Chopra. I had the pleasure of spending some time with him last fall. He's an amazing man. If you ever have the chance to meet him, hear him speak, do it. He's shorter than I am, and he will command a room incredibly. After a 30-year tenure with Health Canada, he was stripped of his career for speaking out against genetically modified recombinant bovine growth hormone. They only liked him when he agreed with what they had to say. When he wanted to speak out against what was happening, they took everything away from him. My son and all the other children of his generation face a lifetime of being the sickest our world has known thanks to these companies. Despite all of my best efforts by eating organically, switching all of our household products including body care over to non-GMO, all-natural alternatives, my son is still going to be exposed to the devastating effects of glyphosate through my breast milk. Despite what companies like Monsanto will tell you, these chemicals bioaccumulate in your body. They do not simply dissipate. In independent studies, we are still not able to fully assess the long-term effects that these chemicals have on a growing fetus, although I was told that there is a recent study in the past week out of Argentina that they do have these tests. I'd look into that. I haven't yet.
On animals?
I wanted to let you know.
On animals?
However, studies in animals show that there is a transgenerational inheritance of pesticide-induced defects, just like Agent Orange. In 2010, a study in Argentina showed that even low doses of glyphosate in Monsanto's Roundup is a cause of birth defects in the embryos of chickens and frogs. The Argentinian study sparked others like it, with results showing heart defects, higher rates of embryo death and miscarriage, missing limbs, corneas, and among other deformities. This is all still while in the womb. The results of these studies don't even begin to show the effects that occur once the fetus is born. There's a group called Earth Open Source. They're one of the best places to find literature written by scientists who are not paid to scientifically back biotech companies' interests. They created a report which I highly recommend entitled Roundup and Birth Defects: Is the Public Being Kept in the Dark? In the report, they directly state, and I quote, "The pesticide industry and the European Union regulators knew as long ago as the 80s and the 90s that Roundup causes birth defects, but they failed to inform the public." One only has to look as far as my other Y, Agent Orange, to understand this. Monsanto created Agent Orange, saccharin, DDT, PCBs, all chemicals that Monsanto assured the world for decades were safe, despite people suffering and dying from exposure to them. They are now doing the same thing with Roundup and their genetically modified seeds. There has been a dramatic rise in illnesses and general malaise in the current generation of youth, like Tony said: diabetes, digestive disorders, inflammatory bowel disease, colitis, autism spectrum disorders, autoimmune diseases, sexual dysfunction and sterility, asthma, obesity, and that's only a few of them. There's a lot more. All of these occurrences have skyrocketed since the introduction of genetically modified foods and the use of agrochemicals. If we continue to allow our society, our children, to continue to be test subjects, this list is only going to get longer with more symptoms and more diseases. Right now, as parents and caregivers, we do everything in our power to protect our children and keep them safe. From the mundane, such as testing the bathwater so that they don't get burned, to instilling in them the habit to look both ways before they cross the street so they don't get hit by cars. But we are unable to keep them safe from one thing in this world that should be a safe source of growth and nourishment: food. We will continue to go down this road, to have sick children, to be sick ourselves, stuck in this slow death of 30 to 40 years that Monsanto and their counterparts have designed for us so that they can get richer. We cannot change what has happened to us this far, but we can change the next 30 to 40 years. We can change our future. I urge you to please use your voice, your power, and your ability to say enough is enough. Write to your local politicians. Local, don't go federal. Don't even go provincial. Go local. Go to your city councilors. Not even your mayor, your city councilors. Those are the ones who are going to make change. Tell them that you do not want these foods and chemicals slowly poisoning yourselves, your families, your neighbors. Only buy organically grown foods. Yeah, I admit, it's expensive, but if everybody starts doing it, the price goes down. We are the people who have the power to change this, but we cannot do it alone. We need everyone to take a stand. We need everyone to wake up and realize that this is not just a protest. This is an event aimed at educating society of this very real silent killer, slowly killing off every single one of us here and making the next generation sicker than the last. The only way that we're going to change this is if we double in size by the next March and October. So I beg of you today, not just for my unborn son, but for every child, to take a stand, to use your voice, band together, enact change. We can do this. Okay, who wants to march? I'm going to have Shauna Green